The world is in shock as a $150 million transatlantic funding scandal explodes, directly implicating senior officials in Keir Starmer's Labour government and linking covert payments to U.S. corporations connected to Donald Trump's business empire. Downing Street descends into chaos while Trump issues a chilling warning from Florida, sparking headlines of an unprecedented political confrontation between London and Washington. As the pound crashes, protests erupt, and King Charles demands a briefing on the scandal, an extraordinary royal intervention, British intelligence reveals the leak's precision timing before Starmer's Brussels address, suggesting deliberate sabotage. Inside Westminster, panic spreads as accusations of secret offshore transactions and a mysterious Project Concord deepen the crisis. Leaving Britain's government fractured, Starmer's leadership in peril, and the world watching what could become the most explosive power struggle in modern political history. The world watched as an unprecedented political crisis erupted across the Atlantic, catching everyone off guard. Intelligence emerged revealing a staggering $150 million in unauthorized transatlantic funding, directly implicating senior officials within Keir Starmer's Labour government. The money trail led to covert U.S. corporate entities with troubling connections to Donald Trump's business empire. As news spread like wildfire across social media platforms, journalists swarmed Downing Street, only to be met with an unsettling silence from the Prime Minister's office. That silence shattered when Trump himself issued a stark warning from his Florida residence. Those who attempt to manipulate American power will face consequences. Within moments, media outlets characterized his statement as nothing short of a direct threat, a declaration of war between two of the West's most controversial leaders. The unraveling? Westminster descended into chaos as ministers desperately attempted to distance themselves from the scandal, while opposition members demanded comprehensive investigations into how Labour received these prohibited international contributions. The Treasury implemented emergency lockdown protocols as anonymous sources described the atmosphere inside Number 10 as catastrophic. The British public confronted one inescapable question: what did Keir Starmer actually know? The leaked documents painted a damning picture. Starmer's inner circle allegedly authorized offshore transactions channeled through Cayman Islands shell companies, with funds connected to American interests seeking to influence post-Brexit trade legislation. The sum involved, $150 million, represented far more than campaign financing. It represented the potential to dictate policy and destabilize an entire government. The confrontation escalates. Trump's televised response reverberated across global media channels. His accusation that Starmer presumed to lecture America on democratic values while secretly accepting illicit funding struck a nerve that resonated from CNN to Sky News. Political analysts called it unprecedented, the most severe diplomatic confrontation between Washington and London since the Iraq War controversy. Yet beneath the public outrage lurked a more sinister possibility. Was this exposure accidental or calculated? Washington insiders suggested the leak originated not from British investigators, but from within Trump's own network, a deliberate revelation weaponized for political destruction. If accurate, Britain faced not merely a scandal, but an elaborately constructed trap designed to humiliate Starmer, fragment Labour, and test the loyalty of Britain's entire political establishment. National crisis. The consequences cascaded rapidly. The pound sterling plummeted. Tabloids unleashed savage coverage. Protesters massed outside Parliament demanding accountability, while Conservative MPs proclaimed Labour's imminent collapse. Headlines screamed accusations of betrayal, that Starmer had sold Britain's sovereignty for silence. The most shocking development came from an unexpected source. Buckingham Palace announced that King Charles requested a confidential briefing regarding the funding scandal, citing concerns about national integrity and constitutional obligations. For the monarch to involve himself so directly in political controversy was virtually unprecedented, sending an unmistakable message that the crown itself was monitoring the situation with profound displeasure. The deepening investigation. Behind closed doors, security officials examined potential violations of national finance laws and cross-border funding regulations. Politically, Starmer's carefully cultivated reputation for discipline and reform now teetered on the brink of destruction. His supporters maintained his innocence, while adversaries insisted he orchestrated everything. Meanwhile, Trump, though no longer holding office, continued wielding his global platform as a weapon. The collision between these two formidable egos across continents raised critical questions about power dynamics in modern politics. Intelligence sources warned this represented merely the opening act. The $150 million revelation was the fuse. The true explosion, political, financial, and moral, was just beginning to detonate. Dawn of a full-scale crisis. By morning, the controversy had metastasized from political scandal into existential crisis. The $150 million figure transcended mere numbers, becoming a symbol of corruption and international manipulation. British intelligence briefings revealed the leak's strategic timing, released hours before Starmer's scheduled trade address in Brussels. This was precision warfare, not coincidence. Inside Downing Street, witnesses described the Prime Minister as visibly shaken yet defiant, desperately attempting to control the narrative. But that control evaporated when a senior Treasury official anonymously disclosed being ordered to approve transactions that circumvented parliamentary oversight, direct assault on governmental credibility, public eruption. The revelation ignited public fury. Social media exploded with viral hashtags as crowds gathered outside Downing Street demanding resignation. Opposition MPs called for Starmer's immediate removal. Trump's media apparatus capitalized relentlessly, framing Starmer as a globalist puppet who betrayed British citizens. The video statement accumulated over 30 million views within hours. While the White House maintained official distance from Trump's rhetoric, the damage proved irreversible. British credibility hemorrhaged in real time as transatlantic relations entered freefall. The expanding web. Investigators uncovered something even more disturbing. The offshore accounts linked to the $150 million were connected to an extensive network of political consultancy firms spanning not just Washington, but Brussels and Berlin. This wasn't an isolated scandal. It was a sophisticated system of transnational influence that obliterated boundaries between politics and profit. At its epicenter stood Keir Starmer, increasingly cornered and losing command of his government. Then came the palace intervention. King Charles summoned the Prime Minister for a private audience described as frigid and confrontational, expressing grave concerns about the moral condition of British leadership and the disintegration of public trust. Constitutional implications. The following day, every major British publication featured identical headlines about royal intervention. For the first time in decades, the monarch had stepped into the political arena and against the sitting Prime Minister. The sacred principle of royal neutrality, maintained for generations, was cracking under the weight of this singular scandal. Inside the Cabinet Office, panic spread as secret briefings warned of imminent ministerial resignations. Multiple cabinet members privately indicated they were reconsidering their positions. The opposition sensed victory. Even some Labour loyalists began questioning their leader's viability. The alliance fractures. Trump intensified his offensive, declaring that Britain must demonstrate its worthiness as America's ally. British diplomats scrambled desperately to salvage the relationship, insisting the historic alliance remained intact, but the fracture was undeniable. Then the second wave struck. Additional leaked documents revealed email communications between Labour advisors and U.S. corporate intermediaries, referencing something called Project Concord, a name entirely unknown to the public. Questions multiplied. Was this a campaign initiative, a clandestine trade agreement, or something far more sinister, never intended for public scrutiny? The unanswered questions. Britain's atmosphere grew increasingly volatile and unstable. News anchors warned of constitutional danger. Economists predicted market collapse. Throughout the maelstrom, Starmer maintained his silence, issuing only a single terse statement about refusing intimidation from foreign threats. The words appeared strong but rang hollow, because by now everyone was demanding answers that simply didn't exist. The nation stood at a precipice, waiting to see whether its prime minister would survive the greatest political scandal in modern British